Late Night Conversations with Patricia Nduli, Monday to Thursday, 10 p.m. till midnight. Education Conversations.
Let's welcome our first A-Team guest, Mmabatho Maboya, who's CEO of the Cyril Ramaphosa Foundation. A warm welcome to you, A-Team guest. Thank you very much for joining us, Mmabatho.
Good evening, Patricia. Thank you for inviting us.
Now, it's becoming more apparent that a lot of the corporate social initiatives around South Africa and around the globe are actually starting to do initiatives that are touching the heartstrings of our communities. And I think your program, Whole School Development, is one of those that is impacting and also largely looking at the National Development Plan and the Sustainable Development Goals that we have in South Africa. Can you tell us more about the Whole School Development model?
Thanks, Patricia. So we, as Cyril Ramaphosa Foundation and our partner entities, Adopted School Foundation and Kagiso and KST, we implement what we call Whole School Development model, which is basically an integrated and holistic model that helps to address all the development challenges in a school. And it's based on the 9 elements of school functionality, which the Department of Basic Education has identified that, if a school succeeds in all the 9 elements, it can be deemed to be functional, to be providing quality education. Our focus, obviously, is in no-fee paying schools, and which are mainly located in the rural areas and in townships. And we view ourselves as an organization having graduated from being a CSI initiative to a full player and partner in the nonprofit sector. We partner with government, we partner with corporates to enable them to achieve some of their CSI goals. So over the years, we have tried to hone how we impact particularly dysfunctional schools so that we take them through a journey of functionality.
So there's so many other learning models. How did you come up with this particular whole school development model, and why this one specifically?
I guess whole school development, the model itself is not unique to Adopted School Foundation and our work. As I mentioned earlier, that it actually links with the elements that the Department of Education have identified in terms of how do you evaluate school functionality. And how we came about it is that, we started over 17 years ago, and our approach was more on providing infrastructure because a lot of schools' infrastructure were dilapidated and were never maintained over a number of years. And knowing the history of the country and the investment in schools in townships and rural areas could not really meet those desirable standards that we know are recommended for schools. And as we did that, we identified, elements that are important in maintaining good infrastructure. But we realized that a good and beautiful building does not make a school, that a school has got a number of elements that make it functional and assist the learners to receive quality education. And those elements include leadership and management, which is quite central and is a thread that brings together a school. It involves the leadership from the parents, from learners, and as well as from the school management teams. It involves good quality basic infrastructure that addresses urgent pressing issues like overcrowded classrooms or no resources and such as sanitation, etc. It also speaks on managing the curriculum and including co-curricular development that enables learners and supports them towards 21st century learning, which also speaks of non-cognitive learning initiatives, which you normally find in well-resourced schools, things like such as extracurricular activities. And then we also focus on learner well-being and community development. Community development and involvement through our infrastructure approach, which is a community-based model of infrastructure development, where we work with unemployed parents and local entrepreneurs, small businesses and construction companies to construct the school infrastructure. And in primary schools, part of our learner well-being, we have in-house social workers. We also do eyesight testing because those are some of the health issues that you may find are not normally attended to. And we have recently also started audio or hearing testing for learners in primary schools.
Definitely is a model that is holistic. So I definitely understand the wording behind this development model and how it's impacting positively the schools that you are touching in the rural areas. But, sometimes you can't ignore the fact that we've been in a democratic country for the past 27 years. And it's still so sad that we find schools that still need so much help. But on the other hand, we are also moving very fast in terms of technology, in terms of how schooling is being developed. A lot of schools are going online or transforming to digital. And how then will your model be able to move around into ensuring that it's not only the eye and hearing tests that we're doing for the kids and the infrastructure, but also that the delivery mode of education is at a standard that they'll be able to, adhere to online and digital transformation?
Look, I think the digital revolution, which was also fast-tracked by the challenges brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic, has really put the education system globally into a predicament of around two things, around providing technology and keeping pace with the changing world, meaning preparing learners for the 21st century world. So our model, what it does is that we pay attention, or our central focus is on teacher development, because we believe that if we enable educators to master curriculum delivery in time and as scheduled, and to also improve on their pedagogy and the manner in which they deliver, and that enables them that when you introduce technology into that classroom, already you have an educator that is already, able to provide quality education and teaching. We do not see technology as a replacement of an educator, simply because of the level of development that many of our learners still require, to bridge from different phases of the schooling system. However, technology is an enabler, particularly to enable educators. And we've seen now during the COVID lockdowns that those educators that had technology enabled, that could use technology, were able to design worksheets and print and provide learners printouts to take home while schools were closed. So you find that combination. Many solutions would recommend having technology for the children themselves, but looking at ourselves as a developing country, we may not be able to afford whole-scale rollout of technology for each learner, but we can definitely support educators to be able to use education in curriculum delivery. So our model is always adapting to what is taking place in the education sector. We believe quite a lot in research. We have a theory of change that monitors what is it that we would like to achieve. Is the school still moving to functionality? Because if we jump around and outside of the strategic plan of moving a particular school from being dysfunctional to functionality and just join the bandwagon of improvements, we may actually not achieve the long-term sustainability of that school.
A-Team is coming on the conversation. You are a parent and you are a South African living in different parts of the country, but you are aware what happens in our lower quintile schools, fee-paying schools. A program such as this one would obviously be something that could definitely help in alleviating some of the plights that schools in rural areas are facing. Call in and ask your questions or give your comments on 011-714-2006, or you can WhatsApp 0614-104-107. Our guest is Mmabatho Maboya, who's CEO of the Cyril Ramaphosa Foundation, and she's a woman with great strides. She's done a lot for the country, and here she's talking about a CSI project that they do with the Cyril Ramaphosa Foundation and some of their other partners in corporate who are coming in to help within our school system. Remember, SMSs go to 41391. So, Mmabatho, in terms of, this particular model, the whole school development model, can you tell us about some of the success stories and what you have achieved?
We are quite proud of ourselves and our partners of what we've managed to achieve over the years. In particular, two examples come to mind. One is the transformation that took place quite a few years ago together with Lafarge Education Trust and Adopted School Foundation in Budive village in the Northwest, where, we worked and implemented the whole school development model in a cluster of schools, a cluster of 11 schools in that village. And part of it is, training and supporting 60 members of the school community were trained in computer skills, and 11 principals were also supported through executive leadership with the VET School of Education. What we did as well is on the amount of infrastructure that was delivered in that area, and it amounts to classrooms, ablution facilities, and libraries and administration blocks. Over and above that, we managed to create some temporary jobs, and 10 local SMEs were empowered during that period. But one of our key, areas that I would say we find we managed to succeed is the partnership we went into with Gafiso Trust as well as the Department of Education in the Free State, where we implemented what we call the district whole school development model, where we said what would happen if we take all quintile level 1, 2, and 3 in a particular schools in a particular district and work with the district officials to transform those schools so that there are sustainable processes of improving quality and maintaining that quality education. And I'm sure that some of the listeners are aware of the successes of the Fezile district in the Free State, which was one of the best performing districts in the country. What we know and what we've learned through all of this is that transforming education takes time, and that transforming education is a team effort, if I can put it that way. It is not necessarily the sole responsibility of government. It's not necessarily the sole responsibility of the educators. It's a community effort to succeed in quality education, because the parental involvement through school government bodies is a central and key element in our schools. And working together with all those parties, including other government and support organizations, help us to see the results that we see.
I've got our A-teamer here on the line, Jay. Good evening, Jay.
Good evening. Thank you very much, Patricia, and good evening to our guests. Yes, I'm very, very impressed in what is being dished out across media. What we would like to see, how quickly this, implementation is going to be put and brought onto the ground so we can see it physically. My interest now is very much how much of playtime, sports is introduced in school, physical activity. And one of the saddest things, Patricia, I noticed is school grounds are not used up. Interest in sports is not encouraged. As much as academy is required, a child's well-being is also has to be looked after on the outside. So with the result, they have a lot of interaction. They come back very vigorously, innovated, energized into the class. And the other point is, in regard to this IT in getting teachers prepared, we must get our parents also well prepared and educated at home, so everything becomes well balanced. I don't know if I'm getting across, correctly, but this is what my intention, that, yes, the teacher has to be well prepared to deliver a one-to-one basis, and too much of technology, a child loses interest. Yes.
Thank you for your input and questions.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Jay. Mmabatho, can you weigh in on what Jay has said?
Thank you so much. I think Jay is spot on. And the elements she's speaking about, are those components when we speak of whole school development. We know that over time, that for learners to achieve, they need a balance. So the work is not only curriculum, but non-curriculum activities are also important. And we are able to, encourage schools and educators to develop those non-curricular activities, meaning forming sports teams and having all those wonderful things that we know that many children learn outside than inside. And those are important, but can only be achieved if the school and the management team have been supported such that, time is managed accordingly and that, curriculum is coverage is prioritized such that there is that balance. What we've seen as well is the improvement of when grade R was taken into schools and we started constructing grade R facilities and classrooms. And you'd see in most of the schools, those grade R classrooms are separated and they've got their own yards and they've got their own play area, because it's particularly in the foundation phase, play is quite important for children to advance. That's how children learn. And developing your educators by using different methods. And I know we partnered with the Lego Foundation where, training educators to use Lego blocks in teaching mathematics and other abstract thinking elements in lower grades. So definitely that's quite important, because that's just how learning happens. When we're talking about preparing parents and teachers, there is a great drive on early childhood development, and I think you had one guest talking more deeply around early childhood development, and we know that the strides of moving it into basic education, and it helps that we're not looking at it just as child minors, but we're looking at it as part of the education journey of the whole child. So spot on, Jay, and we are now piloting some of the after-school programs in the Free State. We have a program that we are piloting called TARI, for programs for supporting women and children, and we have developed a Safe Park where we are implementing after-school programs as well as psychosocial support for vulnerable learners.
Let me go to some of the questions and comments here on our WhatsApp. This A-teamer says, good evening, Mmabatho. I'm concerned more on security for the schools. How can you help me to render security in schools and create about 1,000 employment?
Yes, security in schools is, and I want to just assume that the question is about physical security of the schools, which really that we mainly achieve together in partnership with the department. We work in government schools only, and whatever solutions that we bring on board should be a solution that can be scaled and can be implemented in more schools. So one of the ways in which we've seen around physical security in schools is that it is part of involving the community in the affairs of schools. So we have experienced, much less vandalism in some of the schools where construction has taken place because of the community infrastructure development model that we implement, where parents in the community are involved in constructing their own schools and therefore also support the schools in providing physical security. We've seen that programs that we do with our social workers that enable, youth leadership programs that help around issues such as bullying dangerous activities that often come and threaten security in schools can be reduced when we have clear programs that deal with that. But this issue tells us that schools are not islands or isolated. Many schools, they mirror the environment in which they are, and it's mainly an effort where all parties and stakeholders in the schooling environment can be involved to improve that.
This A-teamer says, hi, Patricia and guest. As for extracurricular activities, how can one partner with the foundation? My passion is to impart artistic skills in schools. I'm in the Free State, but I have minimal resources. So this A-teamer wants to help.
So how we work is I would encourage the A-teamer to contact the foundation so that we can expand more on what they would like to offer. But we partner with local nonprofit organizations. In the Free State, we partner with LUSO. There is Colomba that does youth leadership, and we also, particularly in the Tabelo area, we work with local NGOs and community organizations, because that's the best way, particularly for individuals who would like to give back and provide that support. We find that when we work with organized community organizations, it's much easier for us to go into an area, particularly where we are new or where we haven't been implementing programs. But just to highlight that, extracurricular programs, we implement them as part of the model. So it would mainly work where we are already working as a foundation, but however, we are able to also bring in linkages with other organizations that we know of.
Please give us your contact details, Mmabatho.
The foundation's website is www.adoptaschool.co.za, or you can go to www.cyrilramaphosafoundation.org, and our email is info@cyrilramaphosa.org.
Excellent. We really appreciate having you as our guest this evening. More strength to your bow.
Thank you very much.
Late Night Conversations with Patricia Nduli, Monday to Thursday, 10 p.m.